Oh, Sagittarius, this week Mars will be squaring Neptune from your 8th house. So this means that other people's money can become particularly problematic through maybe unclear financial agreements, debts, hidden obligations, or somebody failing to honor their side of a financial arrangement. Now, intimate relationships may also involve blurred boundaries where one person gives considerably more. That could be emotionally, sexually, materially. There's just giving more than another. Forewarned, forearmed about the energy this week, my Sagittarius friends. I'm here to tell you how it's going to unfold and how you can navigate it to the best of your advantage. This is a video forecast for your sun, moon, or rising sign. You can check out all 3 videos and they will tell you how the stars are going to affect your life this week. I'm Ksenia, my friends, and welcome to the Astro News and Weather Report for the 3rd week of August 2026. This is tropical Vedic astrology that I will be using, not sidereal astrology. Look it up if you need to find out about it. And yes, I am a real person, not AI. Don't forget, if you don't want to listen to the information about how the skies will affect us all this week, then you can use the timestamps to skip to your zodiac sign forecast. And now for something you'll really like. Well, hello everybody. I'm so glad you could join us today. Do we have some news for you? I'm here today with my husband, David Warner Matheson, and we are going to be hosting the most amazing astrology retreat and astronomy retreat in the High Sierras at Lake Tahoe. Dave, do you want to tell us a little bit about this?
Well, thanks, Ksenia. Really great to join your audience, and the event is called Stars Over Tahoe. It will be in the last weekend of September 25th, 26th, and 27th. That's a Friday evening, then Saturday and Sunday at a beautiful resort in Lake Tahoe. It's really gorgeous. A stunning and special part of the state of California and Nevada and part of the country, and the energy there is just fabulous, and it's a beautiful time of year. And not only that, great stargazing. Go ahead.
Awesome stargazing. So one of the things that we're offering at this retreat is some stargazing tours hosted by Dave. Dave, do you want to just fill us in about what that might involve?
Well, in addition to, during the day, we'll be having presentations about astrology.
Oh yeah, you're going to learn how to read your charts in deeper, more dynamic ways. I've got some great topics to talk about with you. Dave will be sharing about mythology.
And how it's based on the stars, the different stories and characters. And then at night, the glorious mountain air and high altitude will give us a beautiful view of the stars, weather permitting, of course, but at the end of September is one of the best times for stargazing in the Tahoe area. We should see the gorgeous Milky Way arching overhead, and I'll be pointing out the constellations using a laser pointer, many of which you may have never been able to recognize before. You know, a lot of people who know about astrology may know the characteristics associated with Scorpio or Sagittarius, but may have never been able to find them in the sky. So I'll be pointing out some of the zodiac constellations that will be visible, but as well as the band of the zodiac, the other stars all the way up to the dome of the night sky at the North Star and the Big Dipper. Most of us know the Big Dipper and Orion, and that's it, because we never get taught this. We never get taught how to find them. So I'll assist with that.
That's awesome, because it's actually so important. There's a branch of astrology called visual astrology that works mostly based on what is going on visually in the heavens, which is very different than what we see on the astrology map. So being able to sit under the skies and know what you're looking at is actually very, very important to really flesh out your capabilities if you're interested in becoming an astrologer. So this is a really exciting experience that we're offering. Plus, of course, we also have the immersion in the Sierra environment with the pine forests and the beautiful panoramic views, and obviously the gorgeous mountain air and lovely lake itself. Such an unforgettable backdrop, which I'm really excited to experience with you all. We're also going to be having some didgeridoo and sound bath sessions, which will be very very wonderful because it's an energetic reset. That's what these instruments are designed to do. So we will be doing some little adventures that settle our nervous system, because we all live such stressful lives these days. It's hard to switch off and just immerse ourselves in the beauty and restorative qualities of nature. So we really want to support people in doing that as a part of this retreat. And of course, the retreat centre has a lot of nice things like saunas and day spas and all that nice stuff as well.
And in addition to the structured activities, we'll also have plenty of time just to mingle and spend time with Ksenia. If you've never met her in person, spend time with me. And we'll be having meals together, beautiful meals. And it's just going to be a chance to meet new friends and have a wonderful retreat, stars over Tahoe, in one of the most beautiful parts of the world.
So I'm very excited about this. I know we have some great plans for what's going to happen, and we hope you can join us. I've been astounded at how quickly things are booking up already. This is a curated group. It's not like a conference where there's just, everyone can come. So we do have limits on the amount of people, because we want to be able to interact with everybody and form friendships with everybody and create community with everybody who comes. So with that in mind, there are limited spots. So do make sure that you get in early so you don't miss out, and we don't want anyone to be disappointed. So we hope to see you at Stars Over Tahoe, and we look forward to sharing a really magnificent experience with each and every one of you. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks so much. See you soon.
See you soon. Thank you to Ksenia and Dave for that one. Now, on the 17th of August this week, we're going to have Mars making a square aspect to Neptune. Now, I would say this is the most important aspect forming this week, although do keep in mind that we are actually still in the eclipse gateway phase of eclipse season. We're coming up to the lunar or full moon eclipse. So the eclipses are actually the most powerful manifestors of this week's energy. Mars square Neptune will just be secondary. I hope you all got to enjoy the individual 20-minute solar eclipse forecasts that I did for your specific sign, so that you know what's going to be unfolding for you in the next 6 months of your life. I was so excited by what I saw for almost every single sign that this eclipse was bringing you. If you missed the forecast, you can use the link in the description below to catch yourself up with what's going to unfold because of the recent solar eclipse, and get ready for the new lunar eclipse videos that will be coming out in the week ahead. But now, Mars square Neptune on the 17th. This is an energy that stirs up in us very strong desires that really, really want to be expressed, especially if those desires are related to Neptunian themes of unconditional love, soulmate connections, compassion, being a spiritual warrior for the good, and tapping into your creative intuition. You want love, and you want it now. Mars energy wants to make it happen. Or you hunger to fight for a compassionate cause and nothing's going to stop you. This is the positive expression of Mars in a square to Neptune. But it is a hard aspect, obviously, and therefore it is not without challenge. Neptune is often associated with scandal. So be sure that your passions and your actions don't lead you into the murky depths of gossip, ruined reputations, hurt and disappointment. And if you see those things unfolding in your life, you'll know exactly where they're coming from. So keep calm, seek to be as rational as possible during this time, avoid being salacious, and cling to your faith in the goodness of the universe, and you'll get through this time with aplomb. So in a nutshell, let's have a look at what Mars square Neptune can bring us. Well, we can have trouble filling our desires. We want the desires, but they're eluding us in some way. We're perhaps feeling some intense and very idealistic cravings, but we might be limited in how we can take action around them. We might feel insecure or too timid. Mars energy is somehow thwarted. You might use indirect or underhanded means to obtain what you want now. Mars usually likes things straightforward and straight up, but Neptune brings some fog into just going directly for things. You might be very straightforward in your dealings with others and choose to leave what's unsaid or the rest in the hands of God. That's another way this energy can express. Success and accomplishment, they're not really favored this week because of this aspect. This aspect only forms about once a year, but it is a time when moving ahead, accomplishing our entrepreneurial dreams and goals can be a little bit held back by Neptune's mistiness. So it's not really associated with great success unless you're looking for success and forward momentum in a Neptunian field. Creativity, art, music, poetry, things like that. We also need to be very, very careful of deception and fraud and trickery. We need to be very careful about being exploited by our peers and associates in the week ahead. And women especially need to be very careful. If you're going out to a party, make sure somebody accompanies you home, or that you drive yourself home or something like that. Don't walk home in the dark, that kind of thing. I hate saying that, but it's just the world we live in, isn't it? Women need to be extra careful this week and guard against assault or the onslaught of perverted people. Unfortunately, they're everywhere. Romantic dealings may bring out some disappointment and depression as well this week, because Neptune is this romantic idealism and Mars is this anger, and they're joining in a rather unfriendly square. Sometimes also we can't distinguish between a fantasy lover and a real love when we experience Mars and Neptune square. So that's something to be careful of if you've just met somebody, or you're just moving out in the dating scene. Be extra cautious and careful. We can also find that our sexual fantasies are really heightened now. So if you're in a loving relationship, that could actually serve you very well. You could have a lot of fun. Also, sexual restraint and caution can disappear. Just back to what I was talking about earlier, try, if that's the way you're feeling, more uninhibited, more power to you. Just be really cautious and careful about who and where and when you exhibit that with. You can also feel a lot more experimental with Mars in a square to Neptune. This is the planet of high-level love expressions, Neptune, with passion and sexual expression. And we want to try a few things out. So enjoy. Energy can be a bit laggy though. We can feel really frail or really tired and worn out. That's very annoying to me because I've just managed to get myself into a new exercise routine, and the last thing I want is to feel too exhausted to be able to make the most of it. But it's only for the week, folks, and then it'll dissipate as the separation of these two planets squaring each other occurs. So hang in there. Also, be a little bit wary of poisons and toxins and unnatural substances. Keep things as organic as possible. Nourish your blood. Mars is the blood, with green leafy vegetables and iron-rich foods this week, lest you feel more drained, and that, Neptune can sort of act a bit like the South Node sometimes and drain our energy. Also, avoid drugs and alcohol. Neptune is drugs and alcohol. Mars in medical astrology is to do with inflammation. And sometimes, if we have some drugs or alcohol, it mightn't go well with us under this square, and we can find our body getting inflamed as a result, or heated or something as a result. That in mind, I know sometimes we can't avoid it. And as I said, it's eclipse season. That's the major energy this week. So don't be too panicky about what I'm going to say. But really, it's not a good week to schedule surgery when Mars, which is the planet of cutting, it's the planet associated with surgery, is in a difficult aspect to Neptune. Things can be a bit misty and clouded for the surgeon operating on you and not quite clear enough. We can also find that if you're seeing a specialist, correct diagnosis of problems can be very difficult under this energy. Now, I often get, when I share some negative influences of planetary energy, I often get people commenting in the comments saying it's very wrong of me to cause fear in people and to scare people. Well, that's a legitimate comment, I guess, but, we all lap up the good vibes of each planetary interaction, and we take that on board. Please consider when I share some things that are perhaps a little bit on the scary side that we just need to proceed with caution and care. Make sure the surgeon or the professional diagnosing us actually is fully alert and, haven't come back from a big long lunch with a few glasses of wine or something. We need to take precautions during this time. And so I share these types of things not to scare you, but to forewarn you and forearm you to help you make good decisions for your life. Now, there can be illusions and deceptions that come from medical practitioners now, which Neptune is sometimes associated with, particularly pharmacists, etc. So do your own due diligence. Do your own research around the medications that you're taking or the treatment that you're getting, and really dig deep so that you're not deluded, you're not deceived. We can also be a little bit more susceptible to infections with this square, and there might be a little bit longer recuperation time required from any procedures, etc. We also need to be very cautious in our dealings with the police and the military and mechanics. They're careers that are ruled by the planet Mars, and of course Neptune making a square can make things, dealings with the police or the military or mechanics a little bit obscured, a little bit unclear. We take our car into the mechanic, he tells us what we need, and we're like, what? That doesn't make sense, I'm not understanding why I need to, I came in to get my tires replaced and you're telling me I've got to replace the carburetor or something. So be very careful and cautious and do your due diligence and research yourself with regard to your dealings with the police and the military and mechanics. But in the plus side, and there is always a plus side with all aspects, you're going to be more inspired and more imaginative if you are a creative artist. You might produce great music or paintings or poetry or work on film. Just recently I've been feeling like, I need to get back into my sewing. I need to get back into painting, which is something that I love to do. And that inspiration has been sort of sitting with me for a few days now. It would be a great energy to take action, Mars, around those artistic endeavors under this influence this week. We should also be careful in a personal way with our interactions with others in taking on other people's problems and expending enormous amounts of energy rescuing them, helping them, or supporting them. In other words, martyring ourselves and, blowing our vitality and our energy and our enthusiasm, Mars stuff, on giving away to people who don't deserve it, really. Be very careful about martyring yourself. We can also feel very drained by relationships. But let me clarify the kind of relationships where one person is continually giving, and the other person is just taking. So Mars square to Neptune can just absolutely leave us exhausted if we're in a relationship like that. So they're just a few of the expressions of this energy. Remember, it's not the major energy this week. We are in eclipse season, but you might notice some little snippets of this energy unfolding around you in your life. Now let's take a look at how this is going to play out through your sign. Well, my beautiful Sagittarius friends, if you look at the screen, you'll notice that there is a big square represented here between Mars and Neptune. And Mars is sitting in your 8th house of shared money, intimacy. Also, in Western astrology, this is the house of debts and entanglements as well. And so this is where this difficult square is expressing. And we are leading up to an exact aspect on the 17th of August, after which a lot of the things I'm going to describe here will dissolve and won't be such big problems. But let's explore what some of these things we might experience this week look like. Mars square to Neptune, coming from the 8th house in this case, it actually can expose any uncertainty that you've got around your shared resources. Around, things that you share with your husband or your wife or your business partner, anything that is, belonging to the both of you. is seen from the 8th house, and you might be feeling a bit uncertain, For example, you've put a deposit down on a couch for your new house, and, you both put the money in for it, but then, your wife she's kind of umming and ahhing about whether she really wants it, and she doesn't think she wants to pay for her portion of the couch that you committed to buying together. There can be some uncertainty around shared resources. That's obviously if you, in the example I've just given, if you have separate bank accounts as husband and wife, as a lot of people do these days, it's not a bad idea to have that, may I just say, in this day and age of far too many divorces, etc. Keeping money separate can actually alleviate a lot of issues in that regard. However, we're talking about resources, not about divorce here. This is not necessarily a transit that is going to instigate divorce. But make sure you know whose is whose and what is what belongs to you and what belongs to your partner. That might be very helpful going into this week. You might encounter some delays involving insurances, taxes, loans, investments. And this is because Neptune, it's not that Neptune's a planet of delay, but it sort of muddies the waters. It makes things foggy and lacking in clarity. So let's say you're about to receive an inheritance. Well, something might happen this week where it's not clear exactly who grandma left her Thunderbird car to. She says one thing in this will, but hang on, she wrote a letter to another grandchild saying they could have it. Like, oh, hang on, something's not clear with this inheritance here. We need to sort this out. So delays involving these sorts of things, insurances, taxes, as I said. Delays involving money that's owed to you as well, money that, people need to pay you. Other people's money that is due you. So something might require a lot more effort to resolve than you anticipated, to do with material goods and finance. Just if we're aware of this, Sagittarius, if our mental state is that, okay, I know that I might have to be a bit more patient than I anticipated, then you can actually navigate things far better, less stressed, less, freaking out and tearing your hair out. Because this is an energy, and after the 17th of August, things will not be so bad any longer. The clarity will come. Now, another person might also prove unreliable regarding a financial commitment. This is the house of the financial commitments we make with others, be that a marital partner or a business partner or anybody. This is the house of our clients' money or our audience's money. And so, being able to have a financial commitment with somebody else is represented here. So this other person, whoever they may be, might be unreliable regarding their promise of finance. They intend to contribute, they intend to repay, they intend to participate in the investment, but their actual ability to do so, or their true willingness to do so, turns out to be completely different. I'll talk about ways you can approach the energy this week to get around that frustration, because that is very frustrating when that happens. But also, this is a house of intimacy, and it can become equally as complicated this week, Sagittarius. Somebody might be sexually or emotionally intense, but they can also at the same time be a bit unclear about what they actually want from the relationship. They're coming full on, onto you, and you're like, oh yeah, this is really going somewhere. And then they don't call you for 3 or 4 days. And you're like, hang on, I thought they were into me. They made it pretty obvious, but so try to navigate this energy with a recognition that it is an energy this week, and that the behavior of people mightn't necessarily be reflective of where they're truly at. They may be confused. Neptune square to the Mars placement in the 8th house. They might be a bit confused. They may need a bit more time. Don't take it personally if this sort of thing unfolds. Obviously, that's if you're in a single type relationship and getting to know somebody. If you are in a married situation, then your sex life can be seen through the 8th house as well. you might be feeling very passionate, and your sex life this week could be really, really passionate. In fact, there is a good expression of this energy, and that is to bring fantasy into your sex life. Neptune square to Mars here. Passion and fantasy can come together and actually work quite well in your sex life. So that's one way to actually mitigate the more negative expressions of this energy. And why not? Get the dress-up box out and have some fun. There can be a temptation to merge more deeply with somebody because of Mars and Neptune sort of interacting with the 8th house in this way. But the merger might be an attempt to resolve uncertainty. Do they like me or don't they? Well, if we go to bed together, then I might be able to, persuade them to, commit to me. But let me just say, this is not the week to do that, my friends. That can actually make things worse, especially if the underlying issue is lack of clarity with a partner. Wait if you can. Be patient if you can. Hold off if you can until after the 17th of August, because that's when the clarity will start to come in more and you'll know more where you stand and there'll be less ambiguity. Now, this week, just to surmise, my beautiful Sagittarius friends, watch out for undocumented financial agreements. Get everything in writing. Write it all down. Don't trust verbal assurances, because this week is just far too ambiguous, far too misty, far too foggy to be trusting, a gentleman's agreement. Make sure it's in writing. Also, watch out this week for emotional entanglements. And try very hard, because, Neptune making this aspect to your 8th house can make you martyr yourself for somebody that you're in an intimate relationship with. Try not to take responsibility for another person's crisis. The best use of this energy and the way you can work with it to your advantage is to maintain, as I suggested earlier in this reading, maintain some financial boundaries. Have your bank account, they have their bank account. And be patient. You've put a deposit down on this couch that you both really, really want. Wait until after the 17th of August to make the final repayments, and you'll find you'll probably both come to the party and there'll be less ambiguity. But financial boundaries and emotional boundaries too. Don't, give yourself away. Don't martyr yourself for somebody else's, maybe their material needs. I don't know if anyone's ever seen the old film. It had Leslie Howard and Bette Davis in it called, I can't remember the name of it now. Somerset Maugham wrote the book and I can't think of the name. But anyway, it is the story of a man who just has no boundaries with Bette Davis's character, who's an absolute biatch, and just takes him for everything she possibly can. Horrific story. If anyone can think of the name of it, write it in the comments because it's eluding me. No boundaries, and it's a perfect example of no financial or emotional boundaries, Leslie Howard, in the case of this story. So what am I saying here? The best way to work with this energy this week, knowing that it's just a weekly energy and that it will dissipate after the 17th of August, is to make sure that your boundaries are solid when it comes to other people financially and emotionally. Also, investigate what you're entering into before you merge resources this week and merge obligations. Make sure you do your due diligence. Don't just commit. Don't just trust, like I said, that gentleman's agreement. Make sure everything is watertight so that there's no ambiguity and so that you know where you stand. Thank you, my beautiful Sagittarius friends.